Hi, this is Charles, also known as Astro Batboy. This is going to be a Meet the Artist video, actually my first video here on YouTube. A little bit about myself. I'm from New York. I am an artist. I went to school for art. I've been drawing since I was a child. My style is pretty much in focus with portrait, illustration. I love pretty faces, magical, fantastical elements. So I'm excited to start showing this to you all. I'm going to try my best to make this a weekly thing. It's a way of holding myself accountable. My goal is for doing a Friday post, so we'll see how I do with that. Okay, so a little bit about myself. Let's see. One note actually, the materials that I'm using for this painting are going to be listed in the description box below. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. Okay, let's start with things that I love / like. I have listed pretty things, and that's just in terms of aesthetics. I've always been attracted to faces, particularly feminine aesthetics, and it started as early as a cartoon show or a specific show, which was I Dream of Jeannie. The opening sequence was one of my favorites, and just how Barbara Eden was drawn was a style that I was so interested in and did my best to every day draw out until I got to a point where I felt comfortable replicating it. And it's really what started me with illustration, an attraction to things that make me happy, soft, delicate colors, and things of that nature. Next, I put down magic. In terms of that, I've just been a person that's always been attracted to the occult and things that cannot be explained. It's also been part of my aesthetic in terms of myself. I've worn black for I think now close to 18 years or so. So when people meet me, they always get a general impression that I'm kind of dark and not gloomy, but very specific, quiet, which I can be. But once you get to see my art and what I have to offer, I'm very colorful. But magic has always been a staple, that something I've been attracted to and followed up on throughout the years. I don't really practice it myself, but I do enjoy it as a fan, and I appreciate it. Of course, my third thing is illustration. It's just been something that's been embedded into me since I was a child. It's something that I've done for so many years, and I've taken breaks from it, but I've really come to a realization that it's something that is a part of me and makes me happy. So I'm really trying to incorporate it into my life and making sure that I make things that I'm proud of and I'm progressing with. Makeup is something that I feel is my second love, because it was always there as a child, being fascinated by films and TV and cinema portraying character makeup, to getting to do it in Halloween and then experimenting with it later on as a preteen, teen, into my adult years. I did some fun things with it, and funny enough, it's what I do now in my career professionally. So animals, and with that, I will say that I like all animals. I do have a phobia, specifically to rodents and birds, but I've gotten better with the years, and I think it's due to most likely trauma growing up and experiencing things that's caused that. But living in New York, it's something that I have to see, so I've learned to deal with it, but I do have a good love and passion for animals. And lastly, I put sushi. I'm a big foodie and I love Japanese food. It's something that I can never get enough of. And funny enough, up until Miss Rona came this year, I had planned to visit Japan in the fall for a few weeks. And as of now, it's a TBD, so we'll see what actually gets to happen with that. But yes, so let's see. In terms of this painting, I'm finishing up on myself. I actually have black hair, but I really tried to make color and a specific scheme going on with this. So I gave myself the challenge of not using black and using different colors to portray it. Though in my teens to 20s, early 20s, I did have different types of hair that I experimented, purple being one of them, which was one of my favorites. Now the screen name, Astro Batboy, that actually came early on during the AOL years when we had to, make a screen name. And I, at the time, was obsessed with the manga Astro Boy. And so I thought it was clever to put that as my name. But of course, when I was prompted to it, it was giving me a series of numbers. So I'd be Astro Boy 5, 8, 9, 10. And I didn't want numbers in my name. So what was the next best thing but to add Bat, because I was so goth, and it was a name that I really ended up liking, and I keep to this day, because my joke is that if I ever become a DJ or if I become a graffiti artist, I can be Astro Bat Boy or DJ Astro Bat Boy, which I think is fun. So if you see below, I am Ecuadorian, was born in Guayaquil. I am a proud member of the LGBTQIA+ community. I am a Libra, born in September, and I also gave myself like an all-seeing eye, just something that comes more so from my family, but we have good intuition. I try to listen to it, and I've realized in life whenever I don't, it doesn't end well for me, or the outcome doesn't come exactly as expected had I not followed my instincts. I actually plan on working on a series dealing with that. I have old drawings of stories about my life and myself pertaining to intuition and believing in yourself. So it's something I'm thinking about working on, and hopefully I'll get to do this later on this year. It should be fun, so stay tuned for that. Now, the witch hat is placed there to symbolize a part of my childhood where I was the most creative, I would say. I was constantly trying to come up with concepts from pitches for TV shows, cartoon shows, or comic books, storybooks, graphic novels, and specifically that one had to do with one about Latin witch, kind of like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but more centered around New York. Basically, like an envision of myself poured into that, and I wanted it to be something that could possibly be picked up as, a TV show or a film, and I went as far as to getting things copyrighted. I did go ahead and make like the first comic book. Maybe in the future I'll show snippets of it. It's something where I have so much investment in it that there's Bibles for it of what the characters are, her powers, and all that stuff. So my camera did not record the rest, so I'm gonna have to jump around. As you can see, going further down, I have there a feather, which just goes more towards my astrological sign, being a Libra, which with us is about balance, but also we are known to be kind of like aloof, ditzy, and kind of go with the flow in the sense we're always looking for something new, which I find to be very true. I don't like to be tied down by monotonous routines, so I'm very much something in the sense of like a feather. I like to go where the air takes me, where the wind takes me, and I have fun with it. I also put there a palm with dyed fingers. To me, that's kind of more back towards the occult, where there was a time where I was really in it and researching as much as I could in terms of like palmistry, tarot reading. It's something I don't do now, but it's something I still appreciate and take to this day with me, those elements that are so beautiful. Next, I'm painting the logo for the SVA emblem, the School of Visual Arts. It's a college I attended, and I actually went for computer art with the bachelor's in fine arts, but it was a fun experience, but at the same time, it was the first sign of going back to follow my intuition. The first year was amazing because it was about fundamentals, and I had already taken tons of art classes and had that background. So for me, it was just a fun time. But going into the next year where things became so much more computer and tech savvy heavy, I felt like this is not at all what I signed up for, which is funny because like one of the first films I saw was Toy Story and thinking I can do that. So I went into it thinking maybe I could be a 3D artist, which I was for some time, but it ended up not being the final outcome. Not what made me happy, but nevertheless, I'm very proud that I went to that school, and I learned a lot, and I met some fun people, which I still speak to this day. I also put there that little jar with a butterfly, which goes back and ends my arc with SVA. One of the last things for my thesis I created was a short titled Pretty Life, which dealt with this caged butterfly fairy creature in a traveling circus, and it was sort of about discovering and acceptance and coming out of your shell, which was very much like a little autobiography of myself. So that's what the butterfly in the jar stands for. If you can see, there's a shooting star. I definitely love astrology, and it just kind of relates to my love for mystical and cosmic things. I've experienced things which I think I'd rather leave for a later thing, which would be kind of cool to illustrate and tell the story about, but it gives the idea of something that I've gone through and being illustrated through that. So, moving to the little makeup compact mirror and lipstick, just going back to makeup. And one of the first pieces I still remember that I got to play with was with my aunt's lipstick. It's funny because it was myself and a cousin, and we went into her room and we started doing fun like clown makeup. But within that moment, I stopped doing clown makeup and I was like, let me put this lipstick on and see how pretty it is. For me, I've always been attracted, I said, to beautiful things. So precision and trying to recreate something I've seen in movies and my parents do was something that I didn't at the moment think would be an impact on my life, but it has been. And okay, so going further up on top of my head, you'll see the UFO, and that kind of interplays with the cosmic star. It's something I believe in as of now, but also it's something that I've experienced. So I look forward to getting more in depth with those stories. After that, we have the oracle, a ring, and a key, which to me sort of go together. It's iconography that I've always been obsessed with, and if you know me, you see what I wear, from pins to posters or whatnot. It's something I surrounded myself because it's things that I have, but things that I've also seen kind of like in control or finding a path to your destiny. And you'll definitely be seeing elements like that in my work, I feel. So, iconography. After that, we have those two cats that are embracing each other. They're actually my two current cats. One is called Sombra, which is Spanish for shadow, and the lighter one is called Chabelita, which we call for short Lily, or Lilita. I did have a first cat. Her name was Chibi Chibi Moon, and I did want to include her into this, but I've decided I'm gonna give her her own treatment and her own video that I want to dedicate to her. On top of them, you'll see a lock of hair. Fun fact, I used to have very long hair. It used to reach up to my chest, and I had it for close to like 9-10 years. And it was funny because it was something that was so empowering, and once again, aesthetic of beauty. I found it such a beautiful thing, but it was a lot to manage. And when I did decide to get rid of it was when I changed careers, going from my 3D artist world, symbolically changing into makeup. I cut it all off to start anew, and it was very liberating. And I don't miss it, but I do miss the photos of like the shoots you could do with it, which were fun, but realistically, it was a lot to manage. But it was a fun time, and I had fun with it for sure. Next to that, we have the mouse. So the mouse is going back to my 3D artist world, where it was something I did enjoy doing, and I found loves from it, like from illustration, Photoshop, photo retouching. I learned a lot, things that I'm using to this day, like being able to edit and make these videos, which is great. But it was definitely a part of my life that I'm happy I moved past, because while learning as much as I could, it felt like something that didn't feel true to me, and which is why I'm glad that I'm back at my traditional roots. And 3D and computer will always be there, and it's ever evolving, so I'm sure I can pick it up and keep moving forward with that. Once again, we have here Barbara Eden, I Dream of Jeannie, Iconic. There were so many people I wanted to put into that, but she really was one of the first things that I accomplished. It would either be her or Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. Aurora technically is one of the first drawings I made, but I didn't master her. I mastered Jeannie, so that's who I wanted to put in there. And paying a little tribute. It's sort of being hidden, but you were able to see I put some crystals. Once again, I'm surrounded by them. I do put energy into them. I do find them as a source of something that helps me produce and create. So I don't think I'll ever get bored of them, and I'll constantly keep collecting them. And I do believe in them. So by this point, I'm pretty much hitting up final touches. So I'll go into my dislikes. I have injustice, racism, closed-mindedness, ageist, and inequality. These are things that have become pretty prevalent and pretty real to me, especially this year. Something I've experienced being a queer person of color in this world. I'm finding I do have a lot of power in my voice, so I want to make sure that I use it correctly and use it to my benefit to help others, because what's been going on is just not right. I'm going to have listed below some helpful links if you're interested in helping with the movement. And so we're pretty much there. I hope that this gave you a little bit more of an idea of who I am, and I hope it entices you to keep on coming back to see what I have in store. For next week, I have planned a sketchbook tour from 2020, a little tape removal. Everyone loves that, I know I do. And my final piece. This is me, Meet the Artist, Astro Batboy. Feel free to check out my other social media platforms listed below, and thank you for watching. Bye everyone.